Good afternoon, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Morgan coming to you live to discuss fractions on a number line. Earlier today, I shared a fun video song for fractions on a number line that you can find on Epic, or you can find it on YouTube as well. I've shared my screen with you. We're going to go ahead and jump into that lesson that I promised you for identifying fractions on a number line. So as we scroll through to get started, we're going to take a look. Where do you think 2/3 is located on this number line? So hopefully you have a piece of paper, or you're outside with some sidewalk chalk on the sidewalk, or something to write with. Where do you think 2/3 is on this number line? Remember that it doesn't need to be perfect. It just has to be about right. So if I were to split my number line into thirds, based off of that song that we learned today, we count the sections. So I have 3 sections. That's my denominator, and my numerator tells me how many sections over. 1, 2. So I would have my arrow pointing here, and this would be 2/3. Let's see how I did. And hopefully you're doing this right along with me. So if we review again, 2 is our numerator. How many parts of the whole are we actually talking about? And the denominator is the total parts that make the whole. So the denominator tells us how many equal parts to break the unit into. So in this case, our unit being the number line, we must break it into 3 equal parts. Each part is 1/3 of the whole, and you can see I have that labeled 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3, which would give us 3/3 or 1 whole. Now, the numerator tells us that that is the second of the 3 parts. So we would be counting over 1, 2, and we'd be circling 2/3 on our number line. Now it's going to be your turn, and I'm going to give you a few seconds here, or maybe a minute or so, to set up your next number line. Now remember, it's that straight line with arrows on either end, 2 tick marks that represent 0 and 1 on opposite ends. Where do you think 3/4 is located on the number line? So go ahead and draw that number line. Our denominator tells us we have to split our number line into 4 equal sections. And remember, equal is as close as you can get it. So I'm going to work on my computer screen at splitting this into 4ths, trying the best I can. It's not perfect. I'm going to count 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections. So I have my sections counted. Now I'm trying to locate 3/4. So I'm dealing with 3 parts of my number line. So I'm going to change colors here real quick. So if I have 1 section, oh, let me get out of there. 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections. So my arrow should be pointing to this tick mark, 4, 3/4. Now let's take a look. Can you try another one? Where do you think 4/8 is located on a number line? So draw yourself a new number line. That straight line, arrows on either end, 0 and 1, tick marks at opposite ends. And this time we're going to break our number line into 8ths because that's our denominator. So you're going to just do the best you can with it. I like to split my number line into 4ths and then break those 4ths in half to get my 8ths. And you can see Mrs. Morgan's number line isn't perfect. Is it as close as she could probably get? Absolutely, without using that ruler. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to change my color again to try to help you identify. And I need to come up and take a look. My numerator is 4, so I need to count over 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting the sections. So my arrow should be pointing here, and I would label it 4/8. Now here's a little tip. Be careful, because like I said before, some people count the first tick mark on and label the numerator as 1. We don't want to do that. This is not 1/4. We have to count over from 0 to the first tick mark. That first tick mark is representing this first section. So this is 1/4 represented on the number line, because I have gone 1/4 of the way across my number line. Little vocab for you, little trivia. The blank tells us how many equal parts are in the total whole. Is that numerator or denominator? If you're shouting at me denominator, well, let's put it up here and see. Denominator. And then that would mean that the numerator tells us how many parts we're talking about. So we'll click done. Great job, Husky Pups. You got 2 out of 2. Let's click and continue on. Get ready for the quiz. Now this is going to kind of tie things up, wrap things up for us. We've got a few questions to answer. The arrow is pointing to what fraction? So we have to click on this little picture over here, pull it bigger. We're going to count the total sections and then go back and see how far over the arrow is. So count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total sections. How many sections do we count over? 1, 2, stop. I see that arrow, so I'm working with 2 over 5, or 2/5. So let's go back and find that. 2/5, and we're going to hit next. The arrow is pointing to which fraction? So again, let's click that. We're going to count the total number. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm dealing with fourths, and how many sections over? 1. Stop. There's the arrow. So I'm working with 1/4. I'm going to come find that. Choice B. Select it. Next. The arrow is pointing to which fraction? Click that picture. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm working with eighths. That's my denominator. Now let's count over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop. That's my arrow. So I'm working for 6/8. Let's take a look. Choice C. Next, our last quiz question. What fraction tells the distance between each mark on the number line? So what's the distance between each mark? Well, how many sections are there? 1, 2, 3. So my denominator would be 3 or thirds, and each section is worth how much? Well, in the very beginning, we talked about each section would be worth 1/3. So we would find 1/3, and then we would continue on. We have one last one, friends, our open-ended question. Gavin is not sure why his answer is wrong. Can you spot his mistake? Explain what is the correct fraction for the pointing arrow. So let's take a look at Gavin's work. Can you see what he did wrong? Oh, well, is 0 equal to 1/5? I don't think that makes sense to me. So let's count the total number of sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. So his denominator should be fourths, not fifths, which means he must have counted the tick marks, not the sections. So if I'm dealing with fourths, we're going to count back over to the arrow. 1, 2. So the correct fraction represented by the arrow should be 2/4. Let's go fill in our answer. We would click here and we would say Gavin counted the tick marks instead of the sections on the number, line. The correct answer should be, what was that again? 2/4. Great job, Husky Pups. So I want you to think about, how do you feel about fractions on a number line? After I've showed you and taught you the song, we've gone through and looked at marking fractions on a number line, analyzing them, finding what someone does wrong, looking at mistakes to try to correct them. And I want you to write that down on that piece of paper, take a picture of it, and have your parents help you send that to me in our class dojo. That's all I have for today, friends. Until we meet again, have a great afternoon. Talk to you later.